Hello YouTube. In this video I'm going to be presenting to you my bodybuilding program, the split that I personally follow to put on muscle, as well as my goals going forward for this new year of 2024, which is around the corner. And I hope that you can learn from some of the things we're going to discuss today, because this is truly just an excuse for me to geek out about programming. So by going over everything that I do to get huge, I hope that you guys can learn something as well. This is going to be fairly laid back, it's not scripted. I'm just going to go over certain points I want to cover, starting with my aesthetic goal. So if you've been a follower of the channel for a while, you know that my dream physique is the berserker physique. So it's a physique with big arms, very developed biceps, forearms, triceps, big chest, but a torso that is a little bit underdeveloped, a very strong core, and legs that match with big tree trunks legs. There are certain parts of the body that can be a little bit lagging. So for example, the shoulders don't have to be that big. They have to be in line with the arms, of course, but if they get overpowered by the bicep, it's not an issue. That being said, the more I grow as a bodybuilder, the more my body grows and the more I adapt my grow body. And so going forward, there are really three aspects of my body I want to improve on. The number one being the shoulders, because even though they're not puny, they have a decent size, I think that if I increase the roundness in particular, it'll make the entire physique look better. I always want to be limb dominant, but I've been neglecting shoulder development for the past 2 years, and I want to do something about that. If you have been on the master plan, you know that I've been treating my shoulders to a specific regimen via vertical presses and isolation, and I'm continuing on that path to make them bigger. It's actually going really well, and also my shoulders are feeling healthier, which is always something that you want as a bodybuilder. Then I also want to insist more on the forearms. I'm obsessed with forearms, and I've realized that when you have an obsession about a muscle group, you must just give into it, because the best gains of your life will be made in that aspect. So since that fire is not dying anytime soon, I want to insist on forearms. I want to have nasty, gnarly forearms. And if they can catch up to the upper arm, which I doubt, I would be overjoyed. I have a lot of work to do, but I'll get there. And then the last one, and you might be surprised to hear this, is the core, because my core is my best body part. Even bulked, you can see that it is very developed, it is very aesthetic. But I can sense that there is still potential here. I can still improve my core, especially if I grow out the obliques and I focus on the serratus. I can get that Farnese Hercules look, which I think looks tremendous, it looks powerful, and this is what I desire. So going forward, these will be the things that I insist the most on. But of course, every aspect of my body will have to grow alongside that. And this is when we get into my split. So how do I split my training? Well, I personally train 6 times a week. An hour and a half to 2 hours every time. That's not counting warm-ups. And I do that because at this point, I can take so much volume that this is perfectly realistic for me to do. I don't always take my rest day the same day. It can vary, it's flexible. Sometimes I take 2 rest days a week, sometimes only 1. It depends on how tired I am. But this is usually what is going to happen. I'm following what I call a gentleman's split, which is essentially an upper-lower, but where you do not have to stick to the upper lower, meaning that if I want to train calves on the upper day, I can. If I want to train upper back on the lower day, I can. I think upper lower is a great template, but it's too restrictive. And then the other specificity of the gentleman's split is the fact that everything is programmed via supersets, and the days are supposed to be synergistic. So if I train triceps on a day, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be training shoulders and chest, because why the fuck not? If I'm going to do presses, they're going to work anyways, so might as well be synergistic about it. I've always found it weird to just throw a random muscle group into a day when you never actually use the muscle group outside of one isolation exercise. For me, it's a waste of time. I prefer to do everything holistically. So this is the way my split works, and it's a split that is very easy to run. I've explained to you guys on the channel how to do it. But if we are to actually look at how it would work on a day-to-day basis, it's simple. every given day I do either lower or upper. If I work upper, it means that I have to hit every single muscle of the upper body more or less. I'm not forced, I'm not a slave to the template, but it's the big idea, and the same for the lower. So I might come in on a Monday and think, okay, I really want to hit chest, shoulders are a bit tired, so I'm going to focus on chest, then I can also do biceps, lats, etc. And me saying that might, in a sense, put some questions in your head, and you could say, okay, it sounds to me like you're not actually following a program, you're just doing it randomly. You're not wrong, meaning that the way I program right now is based on instinct, meaning that every given day I come in, I know what I'm supposed to train, upper or lower, and then I know every single muscle that must be hit. I know every single muscle that was hit previously, and I know which exercises I have in my back pocket to use to hit those muscles. And then I have slots to fill. So I come in and I think, okay, I want chest, biceps. Which exercises do I have, do I want to do today? And then I put them in the slot. And throughout the day, before I even hit the gym, I will build that in my head. Now, I do not recommend this approach if you are a novice or intermediate. This is reserved for people who have been training for a long time. Why? Because your instinct can and will betray you if you lack the experience. So this is why I always recommend people who are new to programming to follow a strict program, and the more you progress, the more flexible you can become. When people ask me, hey, what is an intermediate to you? What is an advanced lifter to you? I say someone who has more freedom, because flexibility is earned. It's the same if you're an artist. If you are a beginner and you learn how to draw, you will be taught basics about anatomy, human anatomy, movement, flow, proportions. Why? Because if you freeball it, you're going to create garbage art. But once you have the basics down, you can start to earn more freedom. You can start to do a bit more freestyle. Always keep in mind that people from the Dadaist school of painting, for example, Picasso, all of these people had formal training. They could then move on to create more formless art because they had the form down to pat. It's the same for bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is an art, and I have earned myself the right to be more free. I can tell you for a fact that every one of my day is styled and it's architectured in a way that is precise and to perfection. This also, of course, takes logging your lifts, because you have to remember what you hit, or a very good memory. So this is also why I don't recommend people who are new to do that. Now that this is said, let us look at the lifts I have in my back pocket to put in those slots, because the list of exercises doesn't change. I don't just guesstimate. I don't say, okay, today I want to hit this. No, I have a list of exercises and I can pick from it to create my program day to day. So let's start with triceps. For triceps, I do triceps extensions, so either push downs with a straight bar, 8 to 12, or crossbody, 10 to 15. And to this, you could say, oh, whoa. These are movements you do with a cable. Do you have a cable station in your home gym? Because yes, I used to train in a home gym, but this is the great revolution in my life right now. I only spend 50% of my time in the home gym, and the other 50% I spend in a commercial gym. Yes, I have joined the normies, I have joined the plebeians, I am back in an actual gym, and actually I must say, feels pretty good because I have access to all of the things I don't have in my home gym. So now, I have certain days and certain exercises I can only do in the gym, and some that I only do in my home gym. For example, legs. I never train legs in public. I don't want to traumatize people with my massive tree trunks. So what I do instead is I do it at home. And then every other movement like pull-ups or overhead presses that I cannot do because I train in the basement now, I do in the gym. That is just to make you understand where I'm coming from with these new lifts. So this is for the triceps extensions. These core crushers I do with the dumbbell or the easy bar. Easy bar is 8 to 12 and dumbbell is 10 to 15. The reasoning behind the rep ranges always makes sense to me, but I'm going to try and tell you guys that you understand because you're not in my brain, and you should thank the gods because it is quite mayhem and chaos up in there. So usually what I would do is, if I have a lift where I'm comfortable grinding for low reps, I will always do in 6 to 10 or 8 to 12. So a push down where you just press down like this, I feel like I can really give it juice and give it sauce. And so I like to go low reps. With the crossbody extensions where I go here and I extend the arm behind the body, I like to do higher reps because it's a little bit, in a sense, tougher to expand for intensity. So I like a higher rep range. Same logic with the dumbbell. If I do squat crushes with a dumbbell, I find that I like high reps better because I get a better feeling, better contraction, and less pain in my elbow. I have had some problems with my right elbow in the past few months. So when I train triceps, I'm very careful. Then I also do GM presses. This is a big addition to my program. I used to not do it, but people like Basement Bodybuilding, people like Alex Leonidas, Bottomly Man have got me onto the GM press train, and I cannot thank them enough because it's a magnificent lift. And actually, it has helped my elbow pain. So thank you guys for this lift. I do them with the safety squat bar, 8 to 12, which is a lovely rep range for that movement, and the Smith machine at the commercial gym, 10 to 15. So that's all of my triceps exercises. This does not mean that I'm going to hit every single one of them every single week. It doesn't work like this. If I train triceps twice a week for a total of 8 sets, I'm going to pick from the list, and I pick based on my needs, based on how I feel. This is why I told you that instinct is a huge part of my program now, because I only do what I like on the day that I want to do it. If you make a novice do that, they're going to be completely lost, or they're going to insist on movements they're strong at. You need to have the experience and the self-awareness to not do that. Then biceps is the longest list. So for biceps, I do easy bar curls with a close grip, close to my body for 4 to 8 reps. That is my lowest rep range. Then pinwheel curls that I do inside the body like this, 6 to 10. So these are low rep ranges, a lot of intensity for the biceps. I would never go lower than that for a muscle like the biceps. Then preacher curls. So my preacher curls I do with a multitude of implements, like a rope, like a towel that I hold on to, like a dumbbell with a fat grip, or an easy bar. At which point, if you've watched my video about variations, you could tell me, hey, isn't that too many? But actually, if you look at the nature of the variations, they're all soft variations because they're all preacher curl variations. If you actually look at the hard exercises I do, for example, for the bicep, I do easy bar curls, preacher curls, pinwheel curls, and that is pretty much that. And then there are other movements that we'll do strictly at the gym. And it might be a shock to you because on the list you see incline curls. Yes, I've started to do incline curls, but I do them on the cable machine because I've always believed that it is superior. If I want to have a good stretch on the bicep with free weights, I do spider curls and I do 10 to 15. It is a big addition to my bicep training. I'm a big believer in the 90-degree angle for the biceps, but I've also realized that my elbow pain might be caused by the fact that I rarely go all the way and then all the way up. And so why not include movements that are quote unquote light that I can do with that full range of motion. It's not going to kill me. I might unlock some bicep gains. And if it can get rid of that elbow pain, why not? So that is all of my exercises for biceps. As you see, the rep ranges vary. I believe that having variety in your rep range is important for progression and for freshness. Then let's look at quads. Quads, it's very simple. I only do squats, but different types of squats. So I do high bar squats, three reps, that's it. And it's sometimes I sandbag on it. So usually it's something that I'm going to do only once a month. That big compound movement for the legs, only once a month. And usually I do it to gauge where I'm at in terms of performance and to push my strength up on other movements, which is crazy to hear because usually people are going to tell you that they do something like a split squat as an accessory for the high bar squat. For me, the high bar squat is an accessory to my split squat. I want to get stronger on the high bar so as to be able to put more weight when I do my split squats. And when I do my split squats, I do 8 to 12 with a foot close to the body and a knee that travels forward and past the toes. This is what I found recruits the more quads for me, because if I allow the feet to be too far away from my body, it's all glutes and hamstrings for me. So there's not really a point because this is for quads. I also do safety bar squats, 4 to 8 with a pause. And this is the hardest squat I do. It's a bitch, but it's also extremely safe at the same time, paradoxically. And I can really grind and fill my quads. And then the big rep ranges are belt squats and heel elevated squats with dumbbells. And when I say heel elevated, the elevation is like this. So my heel is here and the top of my foot is here. that's a shit ton of range of motion at the bottom. My knee is all the way here, and my hamstrings are flush with the calves. That is a great movement that I found. You have to walk into it, you have to habituate yourself to it, because it can be a little bit tricky for the knee joint to get used to that range of motion, but it can get used to it if you so want. The body adapts to your needs, you just have to put in the work. And for the belt squat, I do the same thing. I used to do belt squats with flat feet, but I quickly found that I was way too strong on the movements, and also that I was recruiting way too much glutes for my liking, which wasn't the point. So now I also do my belt squats with an elevated heel, not as exaggerated, but it's like this much incline instead of this much, so it's like here. And I find that this allows me to push the knees forward and not use so much posterior chain. I see people all the time on the belt squat who can throw like 300 pounds. Then I see their reps and I'm like, that's not what the belt squat was created for. Unless you want a one-to-one carryover to your back squat, which is fine. But if you do it for bodybuilding and hypertrophy for the quads, I highly recommend you find a way to lower the weight and get a better stimulus for the quads. Then we have the hamstrings. Hamstrings is very similar. The way I train my legs is super simple. Hinges, 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 hinges. So I do deadlifts, 3 reps, exactly like the squats. I deadlift once a month. My deadlift is an accessory to my Romanian deadlift. I also do good mornings, 6 to 10. Love my good mornings. Super safe for me. I've never had any back pain or even any fear of injury on the good morning. They make my hamstrings super sore. They make the entirety of the upper back thicker. It is a beautiful movement and I'm glad it's coming back in style. Hyperextensions, 8 to 12. Again, safe movement. Stretches the back of the knee like a motherfucker. So it's like a different angle for the hamstring. Very safe on the lower back. You cannot go wrong with hyperextensions. And Romanian deadlifts. My Romanian deadlifts are, it's like the king of posterior chain development for me now. I love them so much that I wish I could do them more often, but they're also so good at stimulating growth that I only get to do them 2 or 3 times a month, which makes me sad. But when I do them, I do 6 to 12 always. Now, it's a good time to talk about sets. How many sets per exercise? Well, usually for me, it's 3 or 4, but I sometimes dip down to 2. Example, the Romanian deadlift. Sometimes I do 2 sets of Romanian deadlift and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to do more. I got my stimulus. And how do I know when I'm done? Well, it's based on instinct, but also based on numbers. So if I enter a rep range, and let's say it's a 6 to 10, and I come in and my first set I get 7 and the second I get 6, I don't stress out about it. You know, maybe I had a third set, but hey, I'm not going to get that 6th rep, so I'm going to be kicked out of the rep range. So what I do is I just cut down 1 set. Next week, I'm going to come back, or next time I do the exercise, I'm going to come back, and then I'm simply going to get that last set because most likely I will get that extra rep. Now you could tell me, okay, but with that many variations, aren't you afraid of undertraining the pattern and losing strength? I've personally never thought that this was possible, even as long as the variations are connected. So for example, if week A I do Romanian deadlift, week B I do good mornings, and week C I do RDLs again, I'm not going to be detrained on that movement because the good mornings still train the posterior chain. This is something that I think many people need to take into account because it's an anti-minimalistic approach to bodybuilding that is needed. People who spam squats and deadlifts mostly do it because they're afraid to regress. Guess what? If you train the pattern, you're not going to regress. At least that has not been my experience. So this is what I do for the hamstring work. And usually a lower day for me, again, is going to look like slot A, knee flexion, knee extension, slot B, hip hinge, and then neck training and calves. I rarely do more than 3 exercises for the legs on a given day because I train 6 times a week. So I train legs 3 times a week. When you train legs that often, that frequently, you really cannot go ham and destroy yourself because if you do that, you won't be able to train afterwards. Let's look at my forearms exercise selection. I do riser curls, which are essentially just hammer curls on a cable. I do reverse curls, 6 to 12. I do pronation twists, where you get the weight in that angle here and you're going to pronate into yourself. Some people like to do it straight like this, so they just do the movement. I like to actually pronate into my own body. I like the sensation better. This is my bread and butter for forearms. I'm addicted to that movement. That action of feeling the weight pulling directly here and just feeling your pronator firing up. I mean, it comes from arm wrestling training, but for bodybuilding, it's also beautiful. I recommend you give it a try. And then I also do my wrist rollers. So this is for our extension and flexion of the wrist. So either here in this pattern here or here, depending on which way you're going. So this way or this way. Again, the wrist roller is a great addition to anyone's program if you want bigger forearms. And please don't do them with your arms fully extended in front of you because you're just going to tax your shoulders for no reason. Then for abs, I do my sit-ups, love my sit-ups. Decline 6 to 10, flat 8 to 12. Slight variation of rep range for an exercise that is essentially the same with a slight variation of inclination. Then we have machine crunches, an exercise I've discovered recently that is a killer for the abs, 10 to 15 at the commercial gym. And I also do deadlifts. So either I do suitcase deadlifts from the floor, or I'm going to do straight up twist like this, which is an exercise I used to hate. And I've realized recently that there's actually a way to do them to feel the entirety of the obliques contract, which is something I'm going to talk about at some point, because if you look at the list, there are certain movements I used to hate that are in the list. So I changed my mind on them, and I'll eventually explain why. Then for calves, standing calf raises 8 to 12, so a standing calf exercise. Easy bar calf raises where I'm sitting there and the easy bar is on my knees, and block calf raises where I do them with a very heavy dumbbell. So I have 8 to 12, 10 to 15, and 15 to 20. 3 exercises for the calf that are just calf raises because calf raises reign supreme for calf development. And of course, I hit them 3 times a week as hard as I can because I have to make up for years of skipping calves, just like you do. Don't lie to me, you skip calves. Then for shoulders, I do 2 types of overhead press. I do the military style standing up. I know some people don't like the movement because you have to brace, you have to be stable, you lose reps. And you know, these arguments can be heard. I do them because I think that they are chatty. It's a core exercise to do. I do them very low on my chest, so I pose here and then I explode up. I personally enjoy the exercise, so I do it 6 to 10. And I also do them seated on a Smith machine. And this time I do a wider grip and I don't do a pose and I stop below the chin. So these are my 2 big presses that I'm going to be utilizing to grow my shoulders. Then lateral raises. I do strictly lateral raises on the cable machine because I think it's superior. Someone like me, when I do lateral raises with a dumbbell, I only feel my traps. I tend to get hurt. It's just not for me. I'm not saying it's a bad movement, but I think the cable makes it impossible to cheat or be an asshole. I set the pin around my hip level or my hand level, and I just, again, elevate, elevate, elevate. And it doesn't tax my shoulder joint, it doesn't tax my AC joint, it doesn't tax my traps. So I can do them literally every single week. And trust me, je ne me prive pas, as we say in French. I spam this movement like a pig in steer. Steer, stew? Which one do pigs like? They would like stew, but I don't know what they actually lay into. And I also do real dart rows with a rope, 8 to 15, that I do at home. And for neck training, very simple, neck curls, so where I curl my neck inside, and neck extensions, where I reverse the movement like this. Both I do with a harness, which changed my life, to be honest. I used to train neck with plates and with bands. It was boring, it was hard to progress, sensation was weak because of like a poor loading system. I finally bit the bullet and got an harness, and I regret not doing it sooner because it's so much better for neck hypertrophy. It's not even funny. For the neck curls, what I do is I lay on a preacher curl, so I'm like here, and I'm going to allow the neck to extend all the way back with the weight dangling behind me. And then for the neck extensions, I just sit down with the weights dangling in front of me, and I extend the neck. Straight and simple, great sensation for the neck. Train your neck. Then for traps, I do one exercise, which is the belt shrug, because I have to chill with trap development. My lats have to catch up. My traps don't need that much direct work. They already get a ton of work when I do my RDLs. So I only do one exercise that I really should not be doing. This should not be in the list. This is a guilty pleasure of mine. It's just that I love the sensation of trap contraction, having that sensation of the stretch, how it falls afterwards. I'm addicted, I'm an addict. So belt shrugs, 10 to 15, I call them belt shrugs because I do them on the belt squat machine. It's a beautiful movement. Then for lats, the ones that need to fucking catch up, I do weighted pull-ups. Finally, I'm finally doing weighted pull-ups. I'm going to talk about it later. 3 to 5, love it, love to load. I'm progressing super fast. This is something I'm going to mention later, but I've always thought that I would have to start low and slow because I've always done body weight. Bodyweight pull-ups carry over so much to weighted pull-ups, it's not even funny. I'm already using a 45-pound plate and I've been doing the exercise for like less than a month. So I also do reverse rows 6 to 10 when I'm at home. I hook my Olympic rings off of the bar. I do them supinated. I personally prefer them for lats and it's safe if you don't extend the arm like an asshole every single time with full strength. Dumbbell pullovers, of course you expected that. One of the best exercises for lats. 6 to 10 machine pullovers because my new gym is a hardcore gym and it has a Nautilus machine. So it's an old school, all painted in chipped like white paint with fucking chains like a chainsaw that run in the back. And yes, it is the OG pullover machine and it feels amazing. It feels dangerous. It feels like if you overextend, you're going to tear something, but I guess that's the point. If you're not an asshole, you'll not tear something. And just an apart, but it feels great to train at a place where everyone is there to also train. And also, like a little bit, in a sense, arrogantly, it made me feel good about myself to see that I can hang with the big dogs. Because, you know, you train at home and you sort of forget, your body dysmorphia gets in your way and you think I'm small. Then I stepped into that gym, I was like, oh, I'm actually one of the biggest guys there. Like, the only people that outbox me completely are the PD users, and actually I train with people who are IFBB pros now in the same gym. So I'm like, okay, yeah, you're twice my size, go fuck yourself. But then the other dudes, I'm like, okay. I have 100K subscribers. I give advice to people. I think that I'm allowed to give advice because I look pretty good. I'm pretty big compared to the average person. Never do that. Never compare yourself to the average person because the average person sucks. That being said, I also do rows, so with the belt squat 6 to 10 and with the dumbbell 8 to 12 that I do at home, and pull downs with the cable machine at the commercial gym 8 to 12 or machine 10 to 15. This is my favorite new exercise. It is the diagonal pull while the weight is here. So you grab here and you grab into your and you pull into yourself. I love the sensation. I love the fact that you can grind. And then for chest, this is the big surprise, quote unquote, and something that I hadn't expected going into this new year of training. I'm no longer doing bench press because I used to spam close grip bench and it was doing wonders, but eventually my body started to fall apart. So I got elbow tendonitis from it, and I also started to get some pain in my shoulders. And I thought, I was always told that close grip bench was safe on the shoulders. Well, it's safe on the front of the shoulder, it's safe on the rotator cuff, because you don't have to get into that position where your arms are here, but it's not safe on the back of the shoulders, and I'll quickly explain to you why. It's because when you bench like this, and you bend your arms, your shoulders lay directly into your socket. So you can damage your shoulder joint, but when you bench like this, your shoulders have nothing to rest onto. They have the pad behind you, but structurally speaking, you are actually at risk of what is called a subluxation of the humerus. So it's actually the bone of the arm that just runs into nothing, and so it just luxates. It's not dangerous, you're not going to die off of it, but I was starting to get that pain and I was like, okay, let me not do that. This is wisdom. Young me would have kept going, hit a PR and then hurt himself. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do something else instead. So close grip bench are on the side, and now what I do is dips. I'm finally doing weighted dips because I can finally put them at a gym. And I'm also doing ring push-ups, which again, it's funny how the brain works, where I give you guys advice about lifts and I try to make you guys to like understand that your limitations will be self-created, right? Usually when you have a blind spot, you created that blind spot. And yet I have so many blind spots still. So for ring push-ups, I always knew that incline ring push-ups are a beast of an exercise, but for some reason, I never thought about actually adding weight to them. So, and I mean incline, I think it's actually decline, my brain is fried for some reason. So it's the one where you're like this and your head is like this. You tell me in the comments, I cannot speak English properly apparently, but yes, now I'm actually weighting the movement. I'm using a backpack and putting plates in it, and I'm finally giving push-ups the respect that they deserve. I put them as number one in my hypertrophy list that you can find in the description, but for some reason I never put respect on them push-ups, and I'm finally doing it, and I'm glad that I'm doing that. And I also do flies with either a cable, So it's a type of high clap fly where I essentially finish the movement here and I squeeze the chest together. And I'm also doing them with the dumbbells, sometimes with a machine if I feel like it. That is pretty much that for my exercise selection. So throughout this whole explanation, I think that the list actually was going in front of the screen. So I showed you could pause if you wanted to see what I'm doing. But if you actually take a look at the hard movements I do don't do that many movements. I don't do that many variations. Most of what I do is sub variations. It's the same movement with slight modifications. Why? Because when you like something in a pattern, you don't have to change the pattern to avoid overuse injuries. You can change the angle slightly and that will already be all of the difference that you need. So someone like me has just done that, meaning that I have a good exercise selection, but I have low exercise variation. And maybe this is something that you could apply to your training as well. Now, supersets. My training is all about supersets, but I'm now training in a commercial gym. So how do I go about it, right? Because apparently it's impossible to superset in commercial gyms. When I make programs with supersets, people tell me, hey, how do I split that up? I cannot superset. Well, I don't know how you guys do it. I just do supersets, meaning that I claim 2 pieces of equipment. Now, that being said, I go to a gym that is fairly empty, meaning that people are there to train and there's not a million people on their phone. So maybe that's why I get to do that. If you go to a gym with too many people, what you could do instead is just separate movements or try to pair movements that are not going to bother anyone. So for example, let's say you do a big press, like a vertical press. Okay, you're going to take a machine or a rack. You don't want to be the asshole that also takes a machine on top of that. But what you could do is grab a dumbbell and do some curls. So now you do a superset of shoulders and biceps. Simple. Anything you can grab in a commercial gym and bring to you that's not going to bother anyone, do it. I recommend you do that. But that's something that I do only at the commercial gym. So at the commercial gym, I only train upper body. And the way I do it is I do 6 exercises. That's it. Because there are only 7 muscles that I train at the commercial gym. And that is chest, shoulders, lats, forearms, biceps, triceps, and abs. 7 muscles. So usually what I do is there's one muscle that I will quote unquote ignore for a given day because it's tired, and then every other muscle will get 1 exercise. And usually that's what I do because I train so frequently. I rarely do 2 exercises per body part. It's fairly rare. And usually when I do that, it's for something like lats, something that has a lot of endurance. I could do something like 1 exercise for bicep, 1 exercise for forearm, which is still, it's arm isolation, but it's not exactly the same muscle. Or I can do a heavy press and then tricep isolation. This is my approach to volume. I think that if I can get results by doing as little as possible, it's always great because the day I need to do more, I'll have space to do more. And then when I train upper body or lower body at home, I do my giant sets because I'm at home. No one is going to bother me about it. Maybe the spiders that live in my basement, but usually what they do is they just eat the flies. So they are welcome to stay. Usually, so what I'll do is a giant set where I'll do 3 or 4 exercises in a row. And it's something that I've described in the past in my hypertrophy logs. If you want to see me train and explain what I do, this is just, again, an overview of my methods of training. Now, this is it for my program. Let's observe the novelties because you live and you learn. I've been training for 15 years now, and I still learn new things. So what did I learn in this new commercial gym going forward? Well, first and foremost, I learned that machines are great, but that most people don't know how to use them, meaning that machines were created to isolate the muscle and spare the tendons, and you're supposed to use little weight because that's the beauty of them. You can get a lot of results from little weight because the tension is straight into the muscle. What do most people do instead? They put as much weight as they can and they use 0 range of motion and garbage form. So it's not the machine that's the issue, it's really the people. I realized that my dislike of machine was actually dislike of people who use machines because they're usually idiots. But machines are great, and I love my machine pull downs. I love all of the movements that I can do on cables for the triceps. I always knew that cable movements for triceps were superior, at least for joint health. And yeah, it's confirmed now because my tendonitis is pretty much gone. Other big discovery, weighted calisthenics. I was such a fool for so long because for some reason I thought that you needed to be prepared to jump into weighted calisthenics. But I wasted my time doing bodyweight calisthenics because at some point you just can't progress anymore. That's what I've realized. Once you hit like 15, 20 clean pull-ups, once you hit like 30 clean dips, there is no reason to keep doing bodyweight calisthenics. Please start adding weight to your movements. You will find that the carryover is crazy. If you can do 10 clean pull-ups, you will most likely be able to use 10 to 20 pounds already on your weighted pull-ups for sets of 3 to 5. That was my experience, and I'm 215. So again, do not make the mistake that I made. And as far as the novelties, that is that I'm incredibly excited to go to the gym, to that commercial gym, to do all of the things that were out of my reach for so many years, right? And it's great also to have that option, but to always have a home gym because I don't like people. So I like to spend also most of my time training in a dirty basement, blaring music. I think it's the best of both worlds. And I think it's going to greatly help my physique and my muscular development going forward because now I have no excuse. I have all of the equipment that I need. And talking about going forward and growing my body, I want to end up on the bulk because yes, I am on the bulk and I intend on staying on the bulk for a very long time. I've been bulking for a year. And now you could ask me, okay, how much weight did you gain in a year? And that is the kicker. I gained 5 pounds. 5 pounds in a year of bulking. So if you do your math, it's not even 0.5 pounds a month. Some would say, oh, that is way too slow. You are failing your bulk. And to them I say, I'm 210. I started my bulk at 210. How much weight do you think I was going to gain a month? 2 pounds? It would be mostly fat. I keep seeing people make that mistake. People are very advanced with a lot of muscle, who are at my weight or higher, who do giga bulks and who think, oh, it's going to be muscle, bro. No, it's going to be fat and then you're going to have to cut the fat. I would much rather gain 5 pounds a year for the next 5 years because that would bump me up to 225, to 30, to 35, and then to 40. Is this realistic? Of course not. At some point, the body is going to resist. But I'm not going to create limitations. I will let my body limit me. Body, whenever you want to stop adding muscles, you can. But so far, 0.5 pounds a month steadily. It's working beautifully for me. I'm always in a surplus, a slight surplus, but in a surplus. I'm never hungry. I always have energy and I'm hitting PRs left and right. So why would I start eating more? Have you seen the price of groceries? I'm not made of money, so I'm glad that I don't have to eat 15 fucking meals a day. And I'm glad that I can focus on training because, as I've always said, what makes the biggest difference in your physique, in your development as a lifter will forever be your training, which is why this video is 99% about my training and 1% about my bulk. If you are interested in seeing how I bulk and what I eat on a day-to-day basis, I could make a video for you guys. I found it boring as fuck, but hey, some of you guys enjoy that type of content, and I'm here to make content that you guys enjoy. And I'm going to finish up with that. So if you have any questions about my program, about my approach to bodybuilding, let me know. I would be happy to answer questions for you. If there are parameters you didn't quite understand, you want to apply in your training, let me know, but check the description as well, because I'm going to put in the description my methods, right? The things, the theories that I apply in my training that you can easily replicate. And in the description, you can also find the link to my Ko-fi page, which is where you can pledge, you can donate, you can actually get a membership, which are all things that allow me to take the time to make these videos for you guys. That is going to be needed because next week is going to be a big week of content. So I have a lot of work in front of me, and actually I'm going to directly leave you with these words because I have to get back to editing. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.